Kirk Herbstreit blames UCLA's fans for not supporting their football team. Is it possible? Are we underestimating the USC defense? And the Clippers have the better NBA roster in LA, and honestly, it's not even close. Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. It's September 20th, 2022. I don't even have King's Notes. We got a ton to get to, but no King's Notes. The reason I'm wearing it, I love my wife. I tell her she doesn't have to root for the teams I root for. She wore a Golden Knights jersey this morning. This means war, but whatever. As for my non-personal life, I want to thank the new subscribers who joined the channel today. Clickety-clack the like button if you like what we put out. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we come out with new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comments. I am not God. I damn sure ain't perfect. Before we go through all these notes to get through, let's take a quick look at the scoreboard. The Dodgers beat Arizona last night 5-2, right? Which allowed them to clinch a first-round bye in the MLB playoffs this fall. I was really a big fan of Chris Taylor's 10th home run. One, because he's slumping, he needed the boost. And two, because the shot bounced off the gut of a fat guy, and they originally thought it was a ground rule double until the Dodgers challenged. How firm does your beer belly have to be in order for a home run ball to go careening back onto the field? As for today, Dodgers are also playing Arizona twice. They'll play at noon. That's Michael Grove 0-0 versus Zach Davies 2-4. 7 p.m. they come back. That's Tyler Anderson 15-3. Dre Johnson 1-0. I am continually fascinated by UCLA's football attendance problems. And that's not even trying to clown UCLA. I'm stunned, flabbergasted even, why the Bruins are 3-0 and can't draw jack squat. ESPN analyst Kirk Herbstreit had a different take, which I'm not sure I agree with, to be frank. He's blaming the UCLA fans. He tweets out that Chip Kelly and the team deserve better from UCLA's fan base. But do they? I think do they is a fair question. Look, much like a 162-game baseball season, at the end of the year, you are where you are, and you deserve it. Same for attendance. There is a reason UCLA is not drawing, despite being 3-0. I just don't know what it is. I have my own theories, but they're about as worthwhile as anybody else's. Now, Chip Kelly was also asked why they're not getting attendance help. And for his part, he says name recognition of the opponent matters. Last year, they played LSU. They drew about 60-some-odd thousand to the bowl. There's not a big-name non-conference opponent coming in this year. Michigan obviously was supposed to be. And by the way, a longtime fan of this program, she comments on a regular basis. I'm not giving you her name because I'm not going to allow any of you creepos to come after her like that. She was like saying, yeah, we're not facing anybody that's worth coming to play against. Which brings to mind another question. Is that a possible reason why UCLA wants to leave the Pac-12? You would get names to come in to Pasadena if they're part of the Big Ten. But I'm genuinely curious what your opinions are. Feel free to add them in the comments thread. Meanwhile, for the football team on the field, defensive lineman Martine Andrews, he's out for the year with an undisclosed injury. Chip Kelly, not happy about it. He genuinely likes the guy, and he's been trying to come back from a variety of knee injuries throughout his career. We don't know if it's a knee this time. We just know his career with UCLA has finished. Meanwhile, across town, we mentioned that AP ranks the Trojans as number 7 in the country. CBS Sports likes them even more. They come out with their own power rankings and put them up to 5th. They really like the offensive balance. And by the way, speaking of offensive balance, I want to give you a random note. The punter's name is Aiden Sleep Dalton. I say that in case you've never seen USC punt this year. But he's only had to punt 5 times, 3 of them in the fourth quarter in garbage time. Defensive coordinator Alex Grinch says the coaching staff has got to be better with the defense. And yes, people outside the program look at the team and they see all the points, but they say maybe the defense sucks. Is that really true? Is it true? I'm just asking, because about a day or so ago, linebacker Shane Lee had a pretty compelling quote. We give up yards. Yards don't mean points, which I thought was fair. And then I'm going to look back, and last year's USC team allowed 31.8 points per game. Now this year, so far, less than 20. Less than 20. So is this USC defense maybe a little better than we think, at least in terms of the results? We don't even know necessarily what their whole philosophy is yet, but we're starting to get an idea of what the Trojans' philosophy is on defense. They picked up 5 sacks last weekend, including knocking out Fresno State's top quarterback. They have 14 sacks this year, which is second in the entire country. So we're starting to get an idea of what USC is trying to be on defense as well. By the way, you recall how USC, one of the reasons that they wanted out of the Pac-12 conference, we mentioned UCLA for big name opponents. Do you remember how USC was always getting put in night games and therefore nobody on the East Coast was getting a chance to see the Trojans? Yeah, the October 1 game versus Arizona State, it's going to be the 3rd consecutive kickoff for USC at 6:30 p.m. or later. Hashtag Pac-12 after dark, huh? My ass. You want a reason why SC is leaving? We also think we have a reason UCLA is leaving. And that's on the Pac-12. You might recall years ago, the Lakers, they traded for Anthony Davis, and because of that, they had 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA. Not now. Matter of fact, even if you're going to say top 2 players, I don't even think the Lakers have the 2 top players compared to the Clippers. CBSSports.com came out with rankings of the top 100 players in the NBA. The Clippers have 2 of the top 11, 4 in the top 100. The Lakers, by the way, have only 3 in the top 100, and we're going to break it down a little bit here. Kawhi Leonard is number 8. Now, granted, LeBron is up higher, okay? But Kawhi Leonard is about as complete a player as you could possibly get. I mean, aside from the fact that he makes tough shots, he has an inside game, he has an outside game, he is a terror on rebounds, he has great passing vision. The only caveats to Kawhi Leonard's game is he going to be healthy? And for that matter, does he even want to play? Meanwhile, we also know about Paul George being number 11th, the 2 that are also in the top 100. That would include Nicholas Batum at 89 and Norman Powell at 96. Now, regarding the Lakers, like I mentioned, they only have 3 in the top 100, but Anthony Davis is dropping like a rock in these rankings. This whole concept, by the way, is it Davis's team now? Is it LeBron's team? I would argue it's still LeBron's team. And here's why. For all the grief that LeBron James gets, some of it deserved, mind you, Space Jam 2, but for some of the grief that he gets, I want you to consider the year the man had last year. He was injured in the knee. He was injured in the ankle. He was injured in his abdomen. This team had no spacing thanks to Russell Westbrook. Also LeBron, and of course the injury to Anthony Davis. And of course, LeBron James with 37 last year. And despite all of those difficulties, LeBron James was still in the running for the scoring title in the NBA until the last week of the year. So, no, Anthony Davis, or I should say LeBron James, is still ranked higher than anybody on the Clippers at 7. The ageless wonder indeed. Now, as for the rest of ESPN's list, they're saying Anthony Davis, these injuries, and the fact that he might be losing a little bit on his shot, he is not a top 10 player anymore. He's 16. And they gave Russell Westbrook a charity ranking, 98. So in terms of depth and in terms of elite players, you have to give the edge to the Clippers over the Lakers, whether you like it or not. The LA Dodgers are no longer the biggest spender in the major leagues. That's the Mets, which surprised me. This development, however, came about. The payroll for the Dodgers dropped due to the suspension for Trevor Bauer. He's not on the payroll now. Also, people have gone nuts over analytics. Maybe a little too nuts, but so be it. Batting average is a disappearing important stat in the major leagues. I mention that because Freddie Freeman could get the batting crown this year. He has a 7-point lead in the batting average over Paul Goldschmidt with a couple of weeks to go. Let's talk about the Rams for a moment. Guard Tremaine Ankrum. I feel bad for the guy. He had his first start last week because the Rams had to rebuild their offensive line on the fly. He's done for the year. Ankle injury. Expect Alaric Jackson to possibly be his replacement. Also, injuries for the defensive backs Kobe Durant and Troy Hill, both with hamstring injuries. Now this matters because they're about to play the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, I don't even know if they even attempt to run the football. So you need defensive backs back there. We don't know necessarily how long Hill is going to be out. Durant is week to week. If they are both out, it's probably going to be Robert Rochelle and rookie Darian Kendrick as the, quote, next men up. Meanwhile, in the power rankings for the NFL, both Rams and the Chargers are in the top 10. And it doesn't matter if the rankings are from ESPN, the Athletic, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, they're both top 10. So I'm not going to give you the numbers because then we're just going through things that you're just going to glance over. But with regarding the Rams, CBS thinks the defense has to be better. ESPN wants better ball protection and as does Fox Sports. Me, honestly, I think they have to improve their running game. As for the Chargers, again, both in the top 10, everybody across the board is saying the same thing. They have to protect Justin Herbert at all costs. And they're not getting it yet. The Athletic, meanwhile, said something that I thought was rather compelling. They ranked the Chargers as one of the more disappointing teams through 2 weeks in the NFL. And if you look at it, they might have a point. The Chargers were supposed to be absolutely dominant, just crushing both the Raiders and defeating the Chiefs. Well, they beat the Raiders, but that was by less than a touchdown. And they lost in Kansas City. So is this team really as dominant as we originally thought on paper? Granted, it's early in the year. If you're a UCLA basketball fan, terrific news on the recruiting front. Brandon Williams joins the class of 2023. He picked the Bruins over his hometown college, St. John's. He's from Christ the King High School out in New York. He is the number one recruit out of all players in New York City, a power forward, a 4-star prospect. He is the number 17th ranked power forward prospect in the country. Now, bringing him in lifts the Bruins to number 15 in the class of 2023 rankings. And UCLA, if you're looking for a trend, they're apparently going with height. They've only recruited 2 players so far, including Williams. The other star recruit is a big man. So height makes right over at UCLA. MLSsoccer.com analyst Matt Doyle says the Galaxy present the most immediate danger in terms of playoff damage because they are in complete control of their own playoff destiny. Said Greg Vanny probably wanted to go with a 4-3-3 all year long, but because of the disappointing wingers, i.e. Kevin Cabral and Douglas Costa, well, they had no choice but to juggle their offensive formations throughout the entire year. By the way, Ricky Puig notched 3 assists on Saturday's games. He has 5 assists in the 6 games that he's played with the Galaxy, so he is absolutely making an impact. And one final note, that I wanted to get to because we very rarely talk about the LA Sparks. Why? Because they were an absolute disaster last year. And what are their prospects for next year? Absolute disaster. ESPN ranked all WNBA teams in terms of their future prospects. The Sparks are buck naked last in a 12-team league. They don't hold a lottery pick despite missing the playoffs. They traded that one away to get Kennedy Carter, who wasn't really an impact player for them last year. They have no coach. They have no GM. They have no center. Therefore, they have no direction. And like I said, no lottery pick. So, if you like the Sparks, tough times. And by the way, if you like the content we put out, if you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We are building something for LA sports here. Thanks for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.